Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back to Girl Chat Sports with Mo and Mel. We're back. It's hot as heck outside. And
Super hot. Super hot.
hopefully, if you guys are in Las Vegas, you are in some nice AC and relaxing because it's going to get even hotter. We have a chance of even breaking our old record of 117 this weekend. So welcome. Before we get the show started, we just want to shout out our sponsor, the House of Paws. Make sure you find them here in Las Vegas on Buffalo and Vegas Drive. All the great pet supplies that you need, treats, food supplies, where every paw matters. Shout out to Megan. We appreciate you. Dogs appreciate you. I know Tilly and Shug do too. So House of Paws. Thank you.
House of Paws. Can't sing it. It's so hot outside.
I know Mo's just getting in. She's hot. It takes a minute just to cool down. It's a lot.
It is.
But we are back, and I finally got out of my birthday coma that lasted a while. So yesterday I was able to actually function and do some work, and that was nice. But yes. Hey Jose, what's up? Have a good show tonight.
What's up, Jose?
But yeah, so we have a great guest coming on. I just want to get her started so that we can enjoy all of the great conversation with her and these Olympics coming up. So we all know the Tokyo Olympics was supposed to happen last summer. We had a COVID issue. We still kind of do, because as of today, there was some news about Tokyo that we'll have to get into as well. But please welcome our guest for today, Miss Jamie Mittelman. I always want to say Middleton because of the playoffs right now.
I'm good.
Hi, Jamie.
Hey, nice to be here.
Yes. So she hosts a podcast called Flame Bears. Basically, it's geared towards all women in their Olympic, I guess, competition or in their road to the Olympics or being in the Olympics, ParaOlympics as well as Olympics. So give us a little backstory as to you, how this came about with you, where the idea of this came from.
Sure. And thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be here. Selfishly, this actually kind of started as my own personal rescue mission, if I'm being completely honest. I had lost my dad 4 years ago, almost lost my mom, and think I had kind of developed some coping techniques where I felt like the rest of the world was carrying on without me. And then when the pandemic hit, I was thinking, who are the world's biggest masters of resiliency that we can all learn from? And essentially, I wanted to give them the mic and say, hey, a lot of people are hurting right now. I've gone through a lot of pain too, but I want to give people who have continued to push forward the microphone to amplify their voices. So in terms of why women athletes, sports was probably my greatest teacher in my life. Some of my favorite moments, my least favorite moments, totally cringeworthy and embarrassing too. But I think that it's a great unifying element. And I think that our world right now needs hope, and we need things that bring us together because there's just so many polarizing things out there right now. So really, it was kind of my way of bringing people together and hopefully sparking some hope in a really dark time.
Yeah, and I'm sure, and it sounded like from a few of your shows that there was a lot of dark times for some of these ladies, and and thank God they all pulled through and came with it. And now have a fabulous story to share. But kind of talk, I guess. Is there in particular? I mean, because here's the deal: you got women, and it's not just from USA. You've got women from Lebanon, Jamaica, Germany, Chile, Egypt. I mean, all over the world. And they're all addressing some sort of issue within what's happening in your podcast as well. So whether it be entrepreneurship, equal pay for women, mental health, Black Lives Matter, activism, social change, like there's a whole thing. Each one has its own significant kind of category. Is there particular ones that you can think of or the off the top of your head that you really enjoyed or were inspired by just after that you continue to kind of reflect on?
I feel like you're making me choose amongst my children. I think the beauty of it is that showing the diversity of issues that athletes care about. So in the US, just 3.6% of sports coverage goes to women. All of that is pretty much able-bodied athletes who are white, who are straight, who are prescribed to certain norms. So when you talk about how they're covered, who is covered, things rarely stray from what's going on when they're not on the court, on the field, things like that. And what I try to do is show them as whole people, people with interests, with passions, with relationships outside of their teammates, outside, things other than scoring goals or defending. And I think what I love is that everyone's coming in with their own story. A couple things that kind of really struck home for me. Our latest episode was with Danusha Francis of Jamaica. She's a gymnast. This is actually her first time competing in the Olympics. She's 27 years old. She had missed 2 previous Olympics by literally 1 spot. So she missed Rio and she missed London by literally 1 spot. She was reserved for London, and then she was passed over for another gymnast in 2016 because that person had been competing for Team Jamaica for longer than she had. And I think what's so incredible about Danusha is 27 is frankly pretty old for a gymnast. It's a very young sport, but she is such an incredible role model when you think about resiliency. We're all really struggling right now, and she had a dream since the age of 5, and she stuck with it, and she made it happen.
That's pretty
amazing. And the fact that she didn't give up and the resilience of her, just now you're seeing it. That's pretty awesome.
Well, and then there was there was another one that I saw. Well, there's traps. First of all, trap shooting I thought I like to shoot. So I was like, and that's one of the things I do like the Olympics for, is like getting some of those things that you don't know or always usually see. But you had a trap shooter, and you had what was the other one that I was like? Yes.
Ray's amazing.
And a rugby player, a woman rugby, I think too, is like an amazing sport. I think like it's one of the most, I guess it's like the one sport I think you need to have like extreme power for. And but go ahead. The trap shooting and
Awesome. I love both of those episodes. So the trap shooter is Ray Vasil from Lebanon. She's actually the first female trap shooter from the Arab world to compete in any of the Olympics. This is her 3rd Olympics, and fingers crossed, I think we may have a gold medalist there. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for her. Essentially, when she started trap shooting, there was no other woman competing in the sport. She has since launched her own trap academy, an ammunition line. She has really taken over the sport in the Arab world. And so many young girls have gotten into trap shooting just because of her, which I think is just absolutely beautiful. The other one that you alluded to is Naya Tapper of the USA rugby team. Naya is absolutely incredible. Her episode focuses specifically on BLM and why she's passionate about the Black Lives Matter movement. What I think is so cool about Naya, she actually wanted to be the first woman in the NFL. And then when she was introduced to rugby, she was like, no, this is totally my sport. I'm going all the way to the Olympics. Just 2 teams get to compete in the Super Bowl, but every national team gets to compete in the Olympics. That's my sport. So she's just an incredible role model, very outspoken about racial justice issues. And she's, I think, tied for the leading try scorer on the USA team.
Wow. So these ladies have just phenomenal stories, and I can't even begin to think, as to what they've all had to endure to get as far as they come. Like, first of all, going back to trap shooting, like, you don't think of women being able to even carry guns or hold a gun in Lebanon, first of all, let alone anyone teaching them how to shoot or knowing how to shoot. I mean, those are all things that you wouldn't see on an everyday basis in that country. That's enough. It's in itself. As far
that's
as
what I was thinking, like culturally, was it even allowed? Like, was that even allowed culturally for them to even have that kind of role?
Yeah,
to do something like that.
It's so interesting. She said, one of the things that she's most passionate about is exposing different families and girls to the idea that women can do this. And she says it's just going to take a long time for it to change culturally. But when she started, no, it was definitely not the norm. It was something, people looked at her and said, what's going on here? Her dad was actually a competitive trap shooter. So I think that assisted with the transition, but definitely not the norm.
Definitely not, right?
Yeah, it didn't seem
so
like
there
it.
was
That's what I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. There's another, there was a girl from Germany that did rowing, Carlotta, I think it was. And her big thing, and I didn't know if I didn't get a chance to catch up on that episode, but I didn't know if she had mentioned, because her thing was activism, and I didn't know kind of what she discussed, but I'm sure, it appeared to be like mixed race, or, in Germany can't always be the easiest, especially when I'm guessing trying to excel in sports. But did she mention anything as far as, or how was that conversation with her and her activism roles?
So this was with Carlotta Nwajidi, who's another incredible athlete. And kind of the common theme across all the different episodes is we use sport as a conduit to talk about the issues that are closest to athletes' hearts. So it could be pay equity, it could be racial justice, it could be motherhood, kind of spans the gamut. Carlotta specifically is passionate about racial justice and environmental activism. And she believes the two are actually very, very tied together. When you think about historically who has been marginalized, they are communities of color by white mainstream groups. And essentially, those are the people who are also going to be hurt the most by global warming. So from her perspective, and she completely convinced me, I'm totally sold on this, is that racial justice and environmentalism are intimately tied together. She actually launched an organization and is having her German team be carbon neutral. So they're actually offsetting all of their offsets and planting trees to counteract anything that they produce from their travel.
Wow. Just amazing women doing great things. Now, I know those are most of the regular Olympians, but I didn't know, as far as some of the Paralympians and their stories, if there's anything that you wanted to share in regards to some of those people that you've had to speak with. I know there was a woman with dwarfism that was swimming. And I know I think your most recent one was someone with track and field. It amazes me. Like, I feel like I sit on the couch all day and I'm like, but these women are dedicated and they're pushing and they nonstop and they have no excuses. Meanwhile, I'm like, well, I'll just do it tomorrow or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
Totally.
phenomenal.
Totally. Well, first and foremost, it was really important to me to put the Paralympians on the same platform as the Olympians. Pretty much all coverage around sports globally goes to able-bodied athletes. This is the first time that NBC is actually showing the Paralympics during prime time. So this has never happened before. I've had athletes compare the Paralympics as kind of like the redheaded stepchild to the Olympics in terms of coverage, in terms of sponsorship, in terms of pay. And for me, the goal is to highlight models of resilience. These are incredible badasses, frankly, are at the top of their sport, but then have also overcome their physical limitations, be it, a loss of a limb. It could be dwarfism. I have someone who is visually impaired. So these athletes have really kind of gone through everything. You mentioned Sophia Herzog. She's a Team USA swimmer. I think Sophia is just absolutely incredible. She has dwarfism, was the first person in her community in Colorado to go through her high school with that condition. And actually, because of that, she had a lot of issues with bullying growing up. She's now extremely outspoken about what dwarfism is, and has become a spokesperson for that cause. And I think it's just a really beautiful example of, someone being born into a certain situation and not viewing it as something that's negative. It's just a part of who she is. It's a part of what makes her her, and she rocks it. I would also shout out Zara Namati. So Zara is the first female gold medalist in Olympic history for Iran. She is a para archer. So she actually competed in both the Olympics and the Paralympics. She was Iran's flag bearer in Rio, and she won the gold medal in the Paralympics. And what's so cool about Zara is, well, a couple different things. I just think she's, obviously, if you're not getting it, I love all the athletes I work with. I'm their number one fan. She was in a car accident. She was actually a very competitive Taekwondo athlete, and her world was completely rocked when this happened. And she used archery as a means to get back on her feet and really kind of recover her spirit, if you will. I think it was a really, really interesting episode to produce because we launched it actually around the 1-year anniversary of General Soleimani's death. So he was the Iranian official who was assassinated by the US. So essentially, it was using this episode as an example of diplomacy and working across countries to show that sports can bring people together, even when our countries were literally on the brink of going to war and everyone was, massive tensions between the US and Iran. Zara was a fantastic role model of how the US and Iran could work together.
So just to go back on that a little bit, because I'm not sure, but how are you able to compete in both Olympics and Paralympics, or does it matter? I guess because you're just that good that you can then you make it on the Olympic team too. I mean, I know, we're trying. I didn't know that. I didn't know you could do both.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing. So essentially, there's different trials for each of them. So there are, a select number of Paralympians who do also make the Olympic teams, but they are few and far between. So Zara competed in both the Olympics and the Paralympics with 2 separate trials. So that's how it happened.
Wow, that's terrific. So today there was an announcement that Tokyo is having a huge their COVID numbers have increased like ridiculous. In the last 2 months, their numbers have gone crazy, and now they're supposed to be going like almost back into like a lockdown kind of situation where maybe not even locals can come to the Olympics. Now, how can that, I can think of how it would affect me, but you've not only missed out on the Olympics last year, you've had to take a step and do all your training in lockdown. You get to travel to maybe a place that you've never been before, maybe you have, but not only are you there, but then you can't go anywhere off, I'm guessing, out of a bubble there. And then there could possibly not even be any fans to cheer you on at the Olympics. Like,
it's totally crazy. It's totally crazy. Honestly, I feel so bad for the athletes who are competing in the sense that this is not the experience that they grew up envisioning. At the same time, I'm hopeful that maybe there will be some sort of silver lining, but I think it's going to be really challenging. Even the family members of athletes can't go to watch. Imagine raising a child and, bringing them to practices, and then they finally reach their goal and you're not going to be able to be in the stands to watch them compete. The mental blow that takes to the athlete to not be able to, go hug their partner, their parent, their sibling after a competition is really devastating to a lot of these athletes. That said, I think everyone that I've spoken to, at least, is just really grateful that the games are happening. I think there was so much uncertainty this past year, the entire time, that a shoe could drop and they could just say, sorry, the games aren't happening. So I think there's obviously a ton of disappointment around the lack of fans and restrictions from an international perspective. But I also think that's paired with a sense of relief amongst a lot of the athletes that so far the games are moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, we saw even just like during the Olympic trials, like for track and field, just how much the families being there meant to them, and like the hugs in the stands. But, part of that's your motivation too. Like you want to be able to show off and prove to your family or your friends or significant others that are there that you can do all this and you're going to win. And I think it's kind of like how we had these bubble seasons for basketball and football. It's like you don't have the same momentum, the same energy that you get from having a live crowd there shouting with, especially the country of your origin, the fans. I mean, I don't know.
Completely.
All power to them for that.
And it's, I can only imagine what this is like from the Japanese perspective. I've spoken with a couple of colleagues who are on the ground there, and there's frankly a lot of resentment that the games are happening. They have one of the largest anti-vax movements. I think they're currently at about 12% vaccination rate, so very low in terms of overall population being vaccinated, and yet I think there's this sentiment that so much funding and so many resources are going into this global competition when so many of the locals are fearful of a COVID outbreak. What is this going to mean for them with so many people coming in internationally when they feel unsafe, frankly?
That's a lot. It's a lot. I can't even.
It's too much. That's way like throwing a whole bunch on it. Not to mention what people's conditions and then the COVID and how that intersects with that, because they, physically probably couldn't perform if there's a COVID outbreak and it messes with them, So, yeah.
Like, what are they having to do? What are they having to do to prepare to get ready for Tokyo? Like, is there a lengthy process? I know, Team USA men's basketball just got here last night. So they're in Vegas. Mm-hmm. They're practicing. There's going to be scrimmages and practices for Team USA men's and women's basketball until they leave. But then I know most of them are leaving like 14th, 15th, I believe, or like 15th, 16th. And then the games start the 23rd, whether it be for them or not. But, did any of the women mention kind of, have they been told like what the protocol is going to be, or like upon leaving, like, are they having to do X, Y, and Z?
It's interesting. There seems to be constant changes. The common themes are: one, you're in a bubble. You have to come and go shortly before and shortly after your competition. Two, you can't bring anyone with you. I can kind of get into this later, but there was a recent change just allowing nursing moms to bring their babies with them. Before that, it was literally too bad. You can't bring anyone. The third thing is, the Olympic Village is totally different this year. So the Olympic Village has historically been this raucous party scene where, athletes have a great time. That's just not happening this year. So I think there's also a massive, wet cloth on the athlete experience too.
Wow. It's like you really want to see the Olympics happen, but at the same time, it's like, well, if we've already gone past 1 year, like what's the second year going to hurt at this? It's just kind of like, what are, I don't know. It's like, what do I want to go to a football game for if like the starters aren't playing? Like, I don't really want to go. I feel like you got the great athletes, but you don't have the whole, the feeling they're supposed to have, the Olympics are when you have like some of the biggest audiences you're in front of from all across the world. You're on the world's like a spotlight, and, granted, yes, we'll still get to watch them because they're on TV, but it just seems a little different then. And I guess I'm just not over that yet. When I heard that,
it's definitely going to be different for them. But I think at the end of the day, they all just want to compete. They don't want to be stuck in a stagnant where another year lapses and it messes with their mentals. I think they essentially want to compete. And it's kind of that thing where forget the crowd. I just want to do my thing. I want to show and prove what I can do. So they probably have to have that kind of attitude just to make sure that they're going to be right and tight for the games.
Completely. And, what's crazy is, I think for women athletes in particular, I've spoken with so many athletes who are like, I have to plan exactly when I get pregnant because I have a 4-year period in which I'm allowed to get pregnant. So you have to time that very, very carefully. And now that the games are postponed, that's messed that up. So it's now, changing family planning too. It's different than a guy competing because these women actually have to give birth to children if that's what they choose to do. And that completely changes their training regimen.
Oh, man. So talk a little bit about the mental health component then, because I know a lot of the interviews were done still during kind of a lockdown or a pandemic year, even prior to our 1 year anniversary of kind of being into this COVID lifestyle now. What were some of those things these athletes were dealing with or having to battle with or get out of just because of this lockdown? Like, it wouldn't have been different had it not been for the pandemic that happened.
Completely. Well, actually, our 2 episodes ago was with 2-time Paralympic gold medalist Deja Young, and her episode was specifically about mental health. She actually tried to commit suicide right before Rio. And since then has been extremely outspoken about mental health because she doesn't want anyone to feel alone. She doesn't want anyone to go through what she has gone through. So she's literally said, I will give anyone my cell phone. My DMs are open because I don't want you to feel alone. I think one of the themes that a lot of the athletes have kind of expressed this year is that it's just been a tremendous roller coaster of emotions. The games are on one day, they're off another, and there's so much uncertainty. And I think the main piece of advice that has kept kind of coming back is that you can control what you control and that you just have to let go of everything else. And, for these athletes, they've had to get creative with how you can train. As Ray did, who's the trap shooter from Lebanon, she literally went down into her garage with, her gun not loaded and pretended like she was shooting in the garage. So controlling what you can control, but then saying, hey, at the end of the day, the shooting ranges are closed, so I can't shoot. But what can I do that will allow me to continue training? And I think that that's been really helpful for a lot of the athletes, but it's been a real struggle. Like, everyone's been hurting a lot this past year. And I think what's so incredible about a lot of athletes now is they're sharing that. I think athletes have for so long been put up on this pedestal of, we think they're superhuman gods and goddesses, but they're actually human. And they have real feelings and emotions and letdowns. And I think they're being open about that gives other people the ability to realize that they can feel the same way too, and that they're not alone.
Well, and I think that's a big thing too, because I can only imagine, like, it's hard enough for me to say, let me go work out if I don't have a friend to go with. And you think about, even if you're in an individual sport, all your training is usually at somewhere where there's other people competing just like you, like gymnasts. They still all train together as a team, and then they have individual sports. Swimming. I mean, any kind of thing that you're training for, you're usually going someplace where there's all of your people that are doing the same thing to train together. And then all of a sudden, all that's shut off. Like, you have no team, you have no, there's no partners, there's nothing. And you're, thank God for technology, because I think we all would be probably doomsday if none of us could actually speak with family
Totally.
or have FaceTime or do chats or, Zoom and stream and everything like that. But it's got to do something to you too. It's like, I can only imagine how some of these women have just been kind of left, without the training partners and the people that they were seeing on a daily basis, then just be stuck at home. I know for me, if it wasn't for my dogs, I probably would have gone crazy. Like, at least I had something or somebody to sit with and bug and talk to, like, whether they talk back or not. But, to have that constant, like, a movement, constant, like, keeping yourself active. But it's just like a whole, I'm in awe of all athletes that had to deal with the pandemic, period. Like,
me too. It's so humbling. I'm like, in bed watching Netflix, and these guys are up early in the morning training. I don't know how they do it.
It's so much. It really is. But is there any, like, I know you had purpose when you started the podcast, and did you feel like you've learned something or that there was something that actually helped you heal as well by having this podcast and hearing these stories?
Oh my God, absolutely. Honestly, I think amplifying these other women and seeing how strong and resilient they are has kind of helped me put some of the pieces of myself back together. And, I have, gone to therapy, I've talked to people, but I think there's something about telling other people's stories, and it's not about me at all, but giving them the mic and allowing other people to see how awesome they are actually helped me in a way that focusing on myself wasn't working. So I think I've actually been really grateful, because just being able to get these women's stories out there and tell them how they want them told has been really gratifying for me, because I felt like I've been able to kind of go to bat for them.
Oh, that's great. That's amazing. So what's coming up? Do you have any shows or any interviews on the way to the Olympics? Do you plan on keeping the show and the podcast going past the Tokyo Olympics and just keeping it going for future, like maybe it's the Winter Olympics or whatever else? Like, what's your planning and your ambition here with the podcast?
Absolutely. So we have a number of episodes continuing on our regular cadence through the Olympics. We're actually doing social takeovers with a whole bunch of different athletes who are competing on the ground. We have a bunch of like really cute recordings of athletes sharing their, messages to themselves the night before they compete. And then haven't actually announced this, but great time to do so. We're definitely doing a season 2 in Beijing. So woohoo!
Yay! All right. That's amazing. Well, I think it's phenomenal. I've enjoyed listening to the ones that I've been able to. We're definitely going to keep following you guys and your story. And I wish the best, and I can't wait to see some of these successes that take part in the Olympics this year.
Me too. I think it's going to be an incredible journey and experience, and I just can't wait to scream at my television at the top of my lungs.
Where can everybody find you as far as social media or website or any of that stuff to kind of follow along and take part in those interviews with you?
Sure. So flamebears.com. We're on Instagram at flamebears, on Facebook at flamebears. So definitely give us a follow, engage with us on social, and we have our episode pages for every single episode. All podcasts are also live across all podcasting platforms. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jamie. We really appreciate you. We'd love to have you on again as we get into more Olympics down the road. Of course, we're definitely going to stay tuned to hear more of the stories from the other athletes that you guys have coming up.
Awesome. Thanks, ladies. Really appreciate it.
Yes, Jamie.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you do. It's awesome. I'm so I was engrossed in everything that you were saying. I really didn't have much to say because I'm just kind of listening and learning as I go along. I just didn't know such a thing. There was such a realm of that and the things that go along with that. You just don't think about it. So keep doing what you're doing, girl.
Thank you. I will. They're the real heroes there.
Yes, they are.
Them the mic. So
the unsung heroes, the ones we don't speak of too often. And so the fact that you have a platform to highlight that is just truly amazing. So shout out to you, girl.
Yes.
Have a great evening. Thank you.
You too.
You too. Bye. How good, man.
Yeah, that was dope.
There's some amazing women out here. I just need to show off my shirt a little bit because it completely, there we go.
What does it read?
The power of women.
Yes,
the power of women.
Yeah, we got power.
I'm just saying. Major power.
All kind of power. All kinds of power. We have all kinds of power.
All kinds. It's unstoppable. It's
everywhere.
like, you know.
We are the givers of life. We're everything, So shout out to us.
So thank you again to Jamie Mittelman. We really appreciate that. Make sure you guys go on. We'll make sure we tag some more later tomorrow too. But Flame Bears podcast, flamebears.com. It's just some phenomenal stories, and each athlete has their own story or their own thing that they're bringing to highlight to highlight in their purpose. So it's pretty nice. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in.
Mercury right now too.
Oh yeah, and is it here?
And the score is 26-33. It is here, and that's probably what's going on. It's being streamed on Prime Video, which a lot of people probably don't have. And right now, it's the second quarter, 5 minutes into the second quarter, and 5 minutes remaining in the second quarter. It's 26-33, and the Phoenix Mercury are rising. They are beating us right now. Hopefully, because within the second half, I don't know.
Well, in the news lately has been who can beat the Aces in the Storm. Because basically, we're tied for first today. Storm and Aces both play today, so we'll see if that continues or not. We're both tied for first.
We hit the number one spot out of that tie just because we won more home games than the Storm did. That was the only technicality. So we need to see what's going to happen. Don't have a box.
Well, on Sunday on the 4th of July, they played the Dream, and Kelsey Plum, my Husky girl, hit her 1,000th point in the WNBA. So shout out to her. She also had 23 points on Sunday, and the Aces had 118 points. This was their highest scoring game since 2016. You don't see too many WNBA games, period, over 100, let alone 118.
She's official. It's plum sauce. I mean, what are you going to say? This woman is coming out scrapping off the bench, and she's actually the one that's the highlight of the team next to Chelsea Gray. I mean, both of them are very scrappy and are bringing it. Like she's
amazing.
She's one of my faves. Definitely.
I
one of
mean,
my faves.
she's one of my faves too. But yeah.
Plum
So
sauce.
yeah, I'm excited for that game. I think I'm going to the game this Friday. I forgot who they're playing.
Well, there was
But
controversy
then,
from the Atlanta Dream game because one of the players from the Dream is suspended
yes.
indefinitely for her behavior on the court with her team and even in the locker room and any kind of antics and shenanigans that she's been doing. But they have suspended.
Well, shout out to our girl
indefinitely.
Natalie because she was there, and I think Quan was there
What'd she say?
too.
Did she say anything about it?
And they didn't catch the fight; they caught the after. So even Quan had a video of them kind of back and forth bickering on the bench, but they never saw what the actual issue was. So it's still kind of unclear. It was Trinity Carter. She has the one that got suspended for conduct detrimental to the team. So, and here's what I don't get, because there's a lot of people that are on Twitter, Facebook, all the WNBA group chats. A lot of them are in her favor and supporting her because she is supposedly like one of the next top tier players in the WNBA. Like she is just, she's got it together. She's a great player, but apparently her attitude is not all that. There seems to be a lot of right. And there seems to be a lot of conflict in general within the Atlanta Dream. There was some tweeting back and forth from different players like, well, you don't know what's happening behind closed doors. She's not the issue. It could be somebody else. So yeah, it seems like Atlanta's just messy right now, I think. I mean, they had ownership changes. They've got, hopefully the new ownership gets together. I'm hoping that changes can be made, but they're trying to figure out, where is she going to go? Would there be Seattle, Vegas, or some other? I know it can't be Vegas. Can you imagine that attitude with some of the ones we have here? Like, I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I don't know if she's gonna get to be able to play along with our girls. But I mean, it may not be just the girls. Like I said, it could be a whole personnel issue with front office. It could be a whole bunch of things that she's taking it out on teammates or whatever she's venting that frustration. Point being, it sounds like she doesn't want to be there. Sounds like when she got drafted, that was not her choice. So maybe this isn't a way to get to where she wants to go and wants to play for. And if she's truly happy somewhere at another franchise, maybe we won't see the issues that we're seeing within what's going on with her.
And hopefully it works out. Hopefully it works out for her. I mean, she's still young. She's super talented.
And not to mention they're not doing much in the league. So probably because their ranking too does not help. You know what I mean? They haven't been winning the best of games. So it could be a whole lot of factors. She may not just be happy. And
and that happens.
It does.
But hopefully, unfortunately, when you're in professional sports, it's not as easy, I don't think, for women as it is maybe like in all things as men to just be unhappy with a team and then you get put on the team that you want. You know what I mean? It's, I guess we haven't seen a lot of it in the WNBA, so
we're seeing it now, possibly. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
Come on, Aces.
So, and we didn't even get to talk to Jamie about the Sha'Carri Richardson stuff with the Team USA. I'm sure everybody knows already. Sha'Carri had been suspended for 30 days after testing positive. So, but now she wasn't selected for the relay, which I thought she could have at least been selected for that. She'd still get to play. It would be after her 30-day suspension, but she was not chosen for that.
Maybe I don't know.
I still support her, but it's just
I support her too. But the thing of it is that she broke the rules. Simple as that. And the thing of it is maybe marijuana should not be one of those things tested within the Olympic players, especially with all these sports going forward, not allowing that to be part of the test. Maybe the Olympics needs to just catch up and get on deck with that. So at the end of the day, that's what we need to be fighting for. Yes, granted, she made a mistake. She owned up to it. She's fully accountable for it. I would love the protest of letting her run. I saw everybody saying, let her run. We cannot let people have an exception when they don't follow the rules. And I understand the trauma that she witnessed going through that of a reporter telling her about her biological mom's passing and that whole thing and what it does to your mentals. But any real street boy, any real dope boy who was trying to sell to her probably would have been like, nah, Sha'Carri, you got to race. We're going to have to do something else. You know what I mean? We're not going to do that to you. We're not going to let you fall. Let that be your fall. And right now, currently, a lot of this is overshadowing the current situations that go on the Olympics. It's the swim cap issue for the natural hairstyle. It's the other players, other Black females that cannot compete because their testosterone levels are too high. It's a whole bunch of different variables that they are doing to women of color in this sport, not to mention her situation. So it's just a lot of things. And I think with her story, she's owned up to it. She's apologized. We're moving forward. We look forward to seeing what she's doing next year. I just think we need to back off the story and highlight some of the other issues that's going on in this. And if you're going to be a true advocate for the fact that maybe marijuana should not be tested, allowed to be tested in the Olympic sport. That's it.
Well, and I think, it's the Olympics. Like, I'm sure they're like 10 years behind everywhere else.
And they're conservative.
Yeah, and it's conservative. But, so in Nevada, I think it was yesterday, the Nevada State Athletic Commission is no longer disciplining for marijuana use for boxers and MMA. So I'm hoping that maybe by the 2024 Olympics that maybe there's some changes. But yeah, they're definitely behind. There's changes that need to be made. We can't be mad at the system. We can't ask for exceptions to the rule, because then there would be exceptions everywhere, and then there would be a chaos. Yeah.
And not to mention, you got other countries that have strict rules that still are anti-drugs of any kind. Still look at marijuana and any other substance as illegal. If you're hosting in other countries, there may be rules that go applicable to that won't allow you to do so. But I'm hoping, since this is a world stage thing, that everybody can get on deck to just kind of waive that pertinent one, because it is for people with mental conditions and things and ailments and feels, and it's natural. It's all natural. But some countries are still banning the substance. So therefore, it is what it is. I felt bad.
Be done.
There's nothing you can do. I felt bad that had to be her circumstances, but we also have a whole bunch of other interests within the Olympics. You can allow skims, but you can't allow these women to create a swim cap for our hair. Like,
we know why.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
It's ridiculous. And the fact that the swim cap could actually make the athlete slower just because it wouldn't be maybe possibly as aerodynamic. You're not even still going to allow it, but they have to.
Is fluffy, and you put the cap on.
No. I'm saying you put the cap on. The cap on's larger, so therefore it might not. I mean,
I understand what you're saying, and I'm saying that, along with that, is it's not going to perform due to the fact that it's just a cap. Simple as that. It's just a cap. There's no aerodynamics.
It's wild.
Our hair is poofy, poofs out when it gets wet. You need a cap to try to suppress that, to get all that shrinkage down if you can, and it has nothing to do with the performance. Nothing whatsoever.
And that's why I'm saying I think it would even make the performance harder, because you're not as maybe it's not all as compacted if you didn't have all the hair. I just think like it's.
I don't know.
I don't see what the issue is. Just like I don't think marijuana makes you have it. Well, I don't think marijuana makes you run faster either. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's certain things I think it's not affecting the performance of an athlete either.
I mean, it relieves joint pain, so maybe it makes her joints flexible to make her run easier, but it doesn't performance of her making her run faster. It's just, again, a stupid thing. If you're going to fight for something, fight for that to be not on the list of as far as banned substances go, and then not be petty about people's hair. And because our natural hair is on a cap, it's probably not going to alter performance. It could possibly make it worse, but I doubt it does, because women already swim with a swim cap over their natural, and I'm sure their performance is just fine. It's crazy. It's just simple crazy. And not to mention, it's probably a cap that protects our hair better than the latex rubbing against our natural
for sure
hair. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not even a thing
with chemicals
so
and
much.
stuff.
It's just things that can help protect our hair. It's hair protection. Simple as that. And they're bugging about it. But what are you gonna do? That's the Olympics, I guess, huh?
I'm just curious, like, is this the first time they've thought about doing that? Like, it wasn't an issue like 4 years ago or 3 years ago?
I think it's because some black winners came with a solution, because women are probably complaining like, hey, maybe there's a way that our hair can get protected.
And it would be time.
Not to mention, if, like I said, if you're wearing a latex cap all the time, what does that rubbing do to the texture of your hair? What does it do after you're done competing? What are the long-term effects of that for your hair? So maybe someone invented something that does protect our hair, not only from any chemicals of the chlorine, but the texture of rubbing together. Like, it could be a lot of factors that probably makes our hair healthier and not damage it. And that's what you're looking at, the cosmetics of it all, of healthier hair. They don't see it that way. They see it as a.
So breaking news. I'm sorry, because I'm like, why is Natalie texting me? Because she knows the show's on. KD. Yeah, KD is at the game right now for the Aces.
Okay.
So shout out to Kevin Durant.
All right. They've been showing up. But the Sparks game had Dame Lillard and Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
And LeBron during a series.
LeBron was there. Yeah.
During a Clippers and Phoenix series, they chose to go to the Sparks game. I mean, we're seeing the solidarity.
And Russell Wilson was out at a game, I think, in Connecticut or something when they were on the East Coast.
We're seeing the support from our guys. We just need more. We need not the celebrities. We need our locals and other
The
people
local
go to
support.
these games. We need the local support. That support's already given.
And buy some merchandise. Let's get the revenue going. This is actually one of my WNBA shirts. Like, you know, get out there and get something, support the women because they need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much.
Yeah.
So their hot topic, which I found a little funny. The Dallas Cowboys will be premiering in the Hard Knocks this year.
And I'm gonna be watching it. And I'm gonna watch these clowns.
I'm watching it too. Oh, I'm definitely watching it.
Just to see what these boys are gonna do.
I'm just curious to know, like, how many
Cowboy fans that predicates you guys are winning a Super Bowl. That means nothing. It's just that we're starting. The rotation looks like it's starting back with other teams getting featured. You know,
it means you guys suck enough to be part of the pool.
Did a Raiders.
You're suck enough to be part of the pool to get pulled from for the Hard Knocks.
It's time. Yes, for the Hard Knocks for them.
I'm just waiting to see, you know, because, you know, of course, we always hear the Dallas Cowboy fans, they're going to the Super Bowl this year. But guess what? How many teams have been on Hard Knocks that went to the Super Bowl that year?
It's like the Madden curse, almost. You know?
Oh my gosh. It's so much. It's so much to deal with. It's so much to deal with. Other big news, I told you about. USA team landed. They're here to play. The WNBA All-Star game is next Wednesday. So that's going to be great. Team USA, Team WNBA. They're going to be having like Team USA scrimmages and games all over the place. We got UFC 264 this Saturday here in Let me just tell you, if you don't have to drive in Las Vegas on Saturday, it's probably a good day. You got Conor McGregor. There's what's the country guy? He's at Allegiant Stadium.
Garth Brooks.
Oh, gosh, Garth Brooks is at the stadium.
Yeah,
he's performing at Allegiant on Saturday. You got
Thunder Rolls.
The Big 3 starts this Saturday at the Orleans Casino, so that's going to be dope.
That's a good one.
You know,
there's a lot going on in the city.
Sports in Vegas. There's a lot of stuff going on in the city.
Plenty to do. Plenty to see. Yeah.
A lot. And there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of people everywhere. And
it's 117 degrees. I mean, it's just too much. It's just a lot.
Hot. Like,
I'm dying here. I'm like, I tell people all the time, I'm chocolate. I'll melt. I can't be out. It's hot at times.
What's the score of our game? Was it halftime when you were there, or when you were?
What's that? What are we talking?
What was the game? The score of the game?
Oh, it's 50-43 Aces. It is halftime.
50? We were up?
Yeah, 50. No. Mercury's still rising. 50-43 at the half. Yeah. Okay. She can text you about Kevin Durant. So, she can text you about that score.
I'm guessing that these are old pictures. When she texted me, it was like 15, 20 minutes ago. I just thought. So.
Oh, yeah.
It probably was the beginning of the game, I guess. I don't know. We'll jump to a little. I
need these ladies to do some work, man. Like, what is going on?
So the WNBA today announced that they will have a new logo for next season, the 75th anniversary edition. Thoughts on the logo?
Still Jerry West on the
It's
logo,
all right.
huh?
Yeah, it's just a diamond, I guess. Is the 75th anniversary? Is that like 75th anniversary? Is like a diamond?
Yeah,
that makes sense then. I mean, you know.
Yeah. I'm not excited.
But we had our first finals game.
Logo.
Oh,
you know.
Yeah. And we had the first finals game. So the Phoenix Suns are in their very first final, or CP3 is in his very first finals. What I didn't realize was that this was, out of both teams, Jay Crowder is the only person who's played an NBA final before. The only person out of both teams.
Yeah. That sounds about right. None of them have gone to the finals. I don't remember Giannis and those playing in no finals. I don't remember Chris Paul.
No,
and
but I mean, anybody on the entire, on the entire team. I was just like,
I mean, Drew Holiday hasn't been to a finals game before. I mean, these are all Tito's. We're talking about a new era of
and they're all young too. A lot of young.
Is Chris Paul. That's the only one that you think would have been a repeat offender of going to a finals contention, but he has not. So all virgins to it except Crowder, which is very interesting.
I want to know what kind of physical therapy or treatment Giannis is on, because as of Monday, he was doubtful. And he was doubtful all the way until Tuesday, when all of a sudden he's starting in the game. Like,
well, I saw his training on Tuesday, and he looked, or actually it was Monday when they showed him doing like just in play, like just playing around, shooting around. He looked good. He looked healthy.
Wow.
So I don't know. I don't know what they're giving these guys or what their treatment is or what their physical therapy is looking like, but it's something to ask. That's for sure.
Did you see the memes? Because they're covering the bottles of CP3 and Booker, and they just wrote their names on it because they didn't want anyone to see what was under the cover. And I was like, okay, little mystery juice, so we don't know what powers that be are out here.
Gatorade and Powerade, guys. Quit playing yourselves. You guys are just trying to have somebody talk about you, I guess.
You know, they're making something new for everything. And congrats to Nate McMillan, because he is officially now the permanent head coach for the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah. I'm happy to see it. I think most of Atlanta is happy to see it. I think everybody's happy to see it. So we're really,
to take a team like he did and do what he did to get as far as they got with no stars is incredible. Yeah.
It's pretty insane.
I kind of knew he was going to get it. Instead of being interim,
I mean, how could you not? Like, you took them so far. You did phenomenal. Yeah. Like, it would be almost ridiculous for them not to.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
The All-Star baseball game is next Tuesday in Denver. Weird that it's on a Tuesday. I don't remember All-Star games being midweek, but it's supposed to have been played in Atlanta. They decided to move it venues because of the political stuff happening down there. So the lineups were made. A couple of my Mariners I felt could have been in there and got snubbed. I feel like, JP Crawford could have been in there, but there was a lot of good players. So here's the deal. This guy is so amazing. Ohtani, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He gets selected as a pitcher and a designated hitcher for the American League. This is the first time that it's happened in almost a century. He also broke the home run season record by a Japanese-born player, and it's only July.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
We still have half a season to go, and he's gonna crush that. He's gonna crush it. I could see him doing like a home run, running for the home run season for the entire league, let alone just for Japanese born players. But
he needs to be a Dodger at this point. We need a replacement now.
Speaking of Dodgers, your guy Trevor Bauer.
He ain't my guy.
Well, the Dodgers guy.
Yeah. Star pitcher. Just drafted him.
And here's the deal. The allegations are coming. And the allegations are coming from during the season. Like, this isn't like what happened last year.
Pretty violent guy. What's going on with him? They need to fully investigate that, huh? It's a very bad man.
Violent, it'd be an understatement with this one. I couldn't imagine.
Very, very bad.
So he got a 7-day paid suspension. It sounds like he's going to be out for the rest of the season now.
Yeah.
They even canceled his bobblehead night. So it's real.
Yes, they did. These women have receipts.
I wonder
all this stuff that he was doing.
Where's all those bobbleheads
type situations? And what are they going to do with all those bobbleheads?
You're
melt them down and create a new bobblehead. That's awful. And that's awful for the franchise.
Isn't it terrible?
It's awful.
It's a terrible look.
It's disgusting and it's awful. And it's a shame because the talent that this man has and what he's been bringing in light of we thought we had scored quite a cue, not knowing personally he has a lot of issues, alleged issues.
Yeah. He definitely seems to have a lot of issues.
And these women have these receipts and the things that he's done, the description of the behaviors that he's done with this women. This is not even just assault. It's like violence. And it's
sickening and it's pretty gross.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm sorry for those women out there. And these are also things that not many women would make. So, I know there's people out there think, oh, well, it's an allegation. Women, like to make stories up. The way that some of these stories came out, there's no way you're making this up. Like,
you could. It's very descriptive, and you could if you had that kind of an imagination. But the violence it's more the violence of the acts. Like, people are just taking stuff too far. Like, the safe word is not enough. Like, you're going past.
Because when they're unconscious, there is no safe word.
There is no safe word, and you're going past what was agreed upon. That's where it is. The rules of engagement have totally changed because you decided to take upon yourself in your mind that because this is a go. This other thing will be a go too. No,
For sure.
no, that's awful. So
Oh,
I'm
my
gonna be following the
gosh.
story, see what happens. But if he goes, it does. I mean, oh my God, this is huge. It's huge in the MLB world. Like I said, you just never know a person. Performance-wise,
You never
stellar,
know.
all time. What he does off field, it's a whole different story, and that's a shame.
A whole
and
other
my
story.
heart
And
goes out
it's
to the women.
definitely.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's like you hope
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not true, but it is true. It's crazy.
Oh, so ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I have a couple kicks to show off today.
Oh yeah, what you got? We didn't
Yeah.
get the,
So
we didn't get the ring sixes. Didn't get the gold.
we did not get
rings.
the gold hoop sixes,
Gold hoops,
unfortunately.
no.
And apparently
Yeah.
nobody I know has a good plug because I haven't been gifted them for my birthday or anything.
Should have posted
Yeah, I didn't
that.
get them, but we have a little Space Jam theme going on here. So LeBron, the 18 lows.
Yeah, I like those.
It's the Wiley E versus the Roadrunner Xbox release. So these shoes will also come with that wireless Xbox remote as well. And
I could
here's
go
the
for that.
other.
And then
Yeah,
he's
I
doing
know
an
you could.
all-red collection of LeBrons. Have you seen all the reds?
I heard about it, but I didn't see any
I saw 'em.
pictures yet.
Pretty dope.
Yeah. That's a pretty, yeah. I let you know, red's a good color. So, and then we've got the Converse and Space Jam, a new legacy Chuck Taylor All-Stars. These released Friday. The LeBron's released on the 8th. I was a huge Marvin the Martian fan back when the original Space Jam came out.
Too.
So I'm actually,
I have a tattoo of Marvin the Martian. That's how much of a fan of Marvin I was.
Do you really?
Everything. I do. I have a tattoo of Marvin the Martian. I sure do.
How have I not?
I have Marvin the Martian cups, a Marvin the Martian pillow. I had a Marvin the Martian bank that I got from Mexico that broke several times. Every time it got delivered to me by a friend because he broke it the first time. So every time he went back, his mission was to bring me back a Marvin the Martian. And each time it came with a broken piece of something until he brought me about 5 or 6 of them until he got me one that was perfectly great. And I had it for some years until I broke it vacuuming. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sending me the Marvin stuff. I am a Marvin the Martian fan. Yes. If you did not know that about me, I do have that and a Marvin the Martian tattoo.
I didn't know you had a tattoo. Now I got to ask you.
I do
that when I see you.
I'm not telling you that. I mean, it's not anywhere inconspicuous. You can see it if I'm this.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Next time I see this, I'm just gonna do like a once over real quick. If you see me staring at you again, be like, "What?" Yeah, that'll be.
No one pays attention. It's great. I love it. Glad you don't see it. You don't know. It's time for an upgrade.
Oh man. So we can have a small discussion about this before the end. I wanted to play a little clip. I do have a girl power. I'm sure just as much as you all know as well, there's been some issues and some hoopla that's been around regarding Rachel Nichols and her off the record, I guess you could say, discussion she had with somebody in regards to, Maria Taylor, ESPN's diversity.
It's like a year ago, right?
It was a year ago. So here's the deal. What I didn't realize is that they've both known. Well, obviously Rachel knew about this, but Maria has known about this for a year. ESPN's known about this for a year. And they've had to continue to have a working relationship this entire year. My hat goes off to Maria. And especially because after seeing this on Tuesday night's game, just look at how happy she is to be announcing this.
Now it's my pleasure to welcome in Malika Andrews, who will be on the sideline for the first time in an NBA Finals game in her career. But she's not the only newbie, because there's actually only one player that has Finals experience that will be on the court.
Yeah.
She got to announce Malika Andrews because, as we all know, Malika Andrews took over the sideline, that court side analysis for Rachel Nichols. Yep. And the smile on Maria's face says it all. I really give it up to her for just being professional through all this. Because if this had been, I think, anyone else or me or you, and someone came after you, but you were like, what? You were just going to be professional and quiet about it for a year? Like, I don't see how that's even.
It's ESPN. I'm not surprised by any of the things that ESPN does. They're
well, and that's the other thing.
Shenanigans when it comes to people and diversity and this whole quota of diversity and all that kind of things. And yeah, not for nothing. I'm not surprised by any of it. Okay, if you're a Black female out there in a professional and corporate environment, you're not surprised at any of it. So my second half of the girl power going into that, and is the ultimate girl power who has set the tone for anybody to command their worth, is Nicole Hannah-Jones from UNC New Chapel, who was supposed to get the tenure job as a professor. And she made a big announcement on Gayle King's show saying, after all that rigmarole of trying to get tenure at a school that is my alma mater, I have made the decision to go to Howard University. After they offered her tenure, she flipped the script on him and told him, I'm going to Howard. Thank you, but no thank you.
Well, there you go.
Because the fact that I had to fight for a professor tenure at a university like UNC Chapel Hill is utterly ridiculous. And she's even quoted as saying that she sees her work as forcing us to confront our hypocrisy, which they did, forcing us to confront the truth that we would rather ignore. Exactly. So big ups to her, because that was the biggest news of the week, that she flipped the script on national TV after UNC had offered her a tenure, after all of the battling, all of the years of her stressing how important she would be to that school, that she was her alma mater, her school. And they said, yes, Nicole. Thank you, Alicia. Yes. Nicole shut that down and said, I'm going to an HBCU and I'm going to Howard. I will teach over there. Thank you, but no thank you. That's flipping the script, ladies. That is what you're supposed to do in these corp. Don't let these men and women try to put you in a box and make you fight for a tenure when other professors have already naturally gotten a tenure in their contract automatically. What's the difference from her?
Mm-hmm.
Girl power to her.
Go where you're celebrated and not where you're tolerated.
Exactly.
Shout out to Alicia. Me and her have had a lot of conversations this week in regards to the Rachel Nichols Maria thing, and I really feel bad too that ESPN has become such this like imbecile, like the big bully. I mean, I know it's been known, and I know it's like, the good old boys club, but the fact that they're still continuing to do this kind of treatment, they're now pitting women against women. And it's just, this is why you'll never.
Rachel pitted women against women. She said, "I just don't want her to take."
But you think, okay, so it's been there for, but it's been there for a year, and we're just now hearing about it because ESPN leaked it. Ain't nobody else dealing with it but ESPN. ESPN's putting it out there. They could have handled this in house, but they didn't.
Well, the girl that got in trouble for leaking it was suspended too from her job. She was the woman that had.
Well, that's just the little. She's the goat. Yeah. She's the goat. She got put on spot here. We're gonna give you an extra 5,000 for your job, and you
already know how people.
Oh yeah.
I work in a professional environment. I know low key how some of these women feel at work around me. I know how some of these men feel working around me. I'm a beast at some of the things that I do. Yeah, they'll smile in your face and say some other stuff. I know this, but the thing of it is that's okay. Because guess who's going to be looking stupid at the end of the day? Not me. But then.
And in the end of the day, Maria's looking beautiful too.
She's looking amazing. And old girl's looking kind of half apology.
And so are you.
Something and say some stuff like, oh, yeah. No. You said what you said. And I get it.
Yeah.
ESPN should never put a woman in a position that some other woman has to take their place. It should be a thing where it should be an open table for everyone. Shame on them for having that divisive kind of ideology, just because they're women. Well, and the thing is, one spot. That's crazy.
Well, and their play could have been putting Malika in to begin with. Their play could have been like, hey, we want Malika on the court. What can we do to make sure that we can just get? You never know. That could. I mean, Malika. She's younger. She's beautiful. She's more. She's got new viewers coming in that probably been watching.
They've all worked so hard for their thing. It is political. It's the seniority thing with Rachel. Yes, she's a GOAT and a legend within her own of what she's done. Yeah. It's hard to lose when you get a young Tito coming in to take your place.
Definitely.
Everybody in their career has to go through that, and it shouldn't be a thing where they should pit people against that, but instead re-strategize and promote and say, okay, we've got someone else that's going to do this, but they didn't handle it right just at the end of the day. But, that's how it is in this world. None of that's not surprising.
Black it's not. It's sad.
Like I said, women command your worth. Do what you need to do.
Yeah, because it's not going to end.
No. Glass ceiling is slowly shattering in some cases, but not all the way. And
it's breaking real slow, like, ice-covered lake. You just got to keep cracking at it.
And a lot of people are used for diversity clout. That needs to stop. Don't use me for the fact that, I can get this viewership because I have a Black person on. Not saying you. I'm just citing examples of the diversity clout of how that works. Because some people do feel like they're pawns or they're the tokens of something just to be opening doors of diversity. Get it because it's the skills and because I had the actual qualifications to do so. Don't do it as a shout out to diversity. That's very insulting. We should be diverse already. Shouldn't be that as a scapegoat. That's wrong.
You would think.
And so many times it's like we get used for that, and that's just not cool. Have your own doggone clout. No. Have your own doggone clout. Don't be trying to use us. Shoot.
I mean, that's what you should. That's what it should be for, you know?
We know you love all of our swag and rhythm, but shoot, don't be trying to number one, propagate it, and don't try to just use us for that. Know that we are actually highly skilled in what we do.
Like the TikTok ban.
Hey, they need to ban
the TikTokers. That was good.
No one's feeling people copying us. We're tired of that stuff. Don't be copying us.
I'm just glad they finally did a ban and stopped, because that's all it was even doing.
Shut it down, because you don't need to be copying. Be your own original person. You don't have to take from us to make an identity for yourself. Be who you are. Just be you. I appreciate it more if you are who you are, because I don't want to look in a mirror and see somebody that's trying to be like me. I can see me every day. I want to see you. You know, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. And then they don't get no props for being the creators of it. That's a long
that part. Like, I just stole your stuff. I'm not gonna say that I don't get where I got it from.
Props for it. I don't get any citation. But that's been a thing too. It's so much. It's such a journey. I feel like all Black people at one point need to just shut everything down and just say, we're not speaking, we're not rapping, we're not dancing, we're not singing, we're not gonna dress a certain way because you guys are taking everything from us. Like, what are we supposed to do? Just walk around naked and just be mute, I guess, the whole time, huh? I don't know.
It's like a new pandemic or something.
The new pandemic. It's crazy because, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, you got a culture.
It's a lot.
Find it. You got a culture, go find it. But don't go.
That's the thing, is they don't get it.
Honey, Ancestry.com works for everybody.
They're lost.
You got Scottish and German and Irish and Czechoslovakian and all of that. Be that. I'd like to learn about that. Yeah. Bring it on. Show me y'all dances over there. What the Czechs do. What do the Russians do? Like, anything. No.
But they don't even know that. Like, you know.
They don't care to know. That's the problem. They don't care to know. They'd rather just
because they're just trying to, they're all that, because we live in a social media world now. All they want is likes, followers, and views, and they're just going to do what it takes to get those views, to get those likes.
For the clout. Yeah. Well, we got a lot of people that do that. Post a Starbucks cup with the name on it for likes. It's crazy stuff like that.
In front of their steering wheel.
Yeah. Or a picture of their feet at the pedicure tub.
Nobody cares about your Lexus.
Everybody's glad you're getting your feet cleaned. It's hot out there. Shout out to you working out at the gym. Love to see it. Glad that you're working out and staying healthy. I don't care. Do it for you. Don't do it for the likes. That's why I'm being selective now on all my posts. I'm making my posts each and every.
Oh. Well, Mo just left the conversation. So I'm going to leave it at this, guys. We appreciate you following you. I just want to shout out to House of Paws one more time for our sponsor for the month. It's been great. Healthy food, healthy treats, supplies, and supplements for dogs and cats over on Vegas and Buffalo. If you're in Las Vegas, go check them out. Get a free purchase. Mention Girlchatsports. Get a free item with your purchase. Again, we really appreciate you guys. I guess Mo is done. Mo's done with me. So we're going to end it for today. Make sure to check in next week. We got another great guest, and we'll catch you later next time. All right? Bye.